Hey guys, how you going? Here's the Carillion. Boom. Isn't it an amazing piece of architecture? Look at that. Whew. Can you see that? That's amazing. Now today, I'm going to talk to you about mobile phones, as I do in my brick phone videos, where I film every single video on my brick phone as opposed to a smartphone or high-tech camera. So, what am I here to talk about mobile phones? They're worse than drugs. Okay, that's a bit of a controversial opinion, but there are a few reasons why I think smartphones are worse than drugs. Or rather, smartphones are a drug, and the fact that people don't treat it as such means that people are kind of addicted to their phones as if they were addicted to drugs. Now, of course, spending 20 minutes on a smartphone isn't as bad as smoking crack cocaine. I'm not going to say it like that. It doesn't even compare. But what I do want to say is that if we don't treat phone addiction like a drug addiction, then it's really going to affect so many people's lives without realizing it. By the way, if any of you want to hit me up and go for a run to the Carillion with me, I'd love to do that. I'm so down for that. Now, I talked about crack cocaine and how being on your phone isn't as bad as smoking crack for your health, but it actually uses the same circuit of the brain as cocaine does, particularly viewing pornography. It actually uses the same reward circuit in the brain, so it's not too far away from drugs. Your smartphones is what I mean. Do you remember when vaping came out? Vaping, everyone was vaping. They said, oh, look, it's the new healthy alternative to smoking, right? People just vape now instead of smoking. You walk onto a uni campus, everyone's just having a vape. Now, I don't want to judge those people. You can choose to do what you want. But ultimately that will have serious health consequences. And a bit controversial, but also what I think is true. Vaping is worse for your health than smoking, even though it was seen as something that was a healthier alternative. Because smokers are so self-aware that they're smoking, so that when they do smoke in a public place, they feel really bad about it because of the stigma we had growing up about smoking. All that propaganda as a kid going through primary school and high school, smoking was seen as about the most evil thing you could do, but it's not, right? It's just a drug, like alcohol, like caffeine, albeit a very unhealthy drug. Really starting to sweat on this one. It's a hot day. It's about midday now. Now, the reason why vaping is supposedly worse than smoking, or rather is worse than smoking, is that the people who vape aren't really conscious that they're doing it all the time, right? They just carry the vape around 24/7. They wake up in the middle of the night, they take a vape, have a vape, every 5 minutes when they're walking. This is true. The other day, I saw someone walking down the street, and every 20 or 30 seconds, they would just inhale from their vape, just non-stop while walking. I'm thinking, if that's what you're doing all day, at home, at work, at uni, at school, walking around, think of the amount of nicotine that's in your body more than smoking, right? Real chain smokers might smoke a pack a day or something, which is awful for the health. But vapors probably vape about that much and not realise that that's actually the equivalent of what they're doing. They're actually vaping a pack of cigarettes a day. They don't feel like it because it's just a fruity flavour. It doesn't taste foul like the carcinogens in cigarettes. It's just a nice fruity flavour, so it doesn't feel bad for them. But the damage they're doing to the body is incredible. Now, vapors aren't self-aware like smokers are. What if we said the same thing about smartphone users, right? Everyone's on their smartphones. You go onto a bus and you just see, oh, hello, little ducky. No, you don't see a little ducky on a bus. I just saw a little ducky. It was cute. But you go onto a bus, nowadays about 75 to 80% of people are on their phones and scrolling social media, other things, texting, messaging. That's just what it is these days, looking at their phones. Now, think of it, a smartphone is kind of like nicotine. It's not quite like nicotine, but it's just like a very mild crack cocaine, right? Think of like time on your smartphone as a microdose of cocaine, the equivalent. It's the same circuit in your brain. And the average Australian spends 5.5 hours a day on their smartphone, which is a lot of microdoses of cocaine, which adds up after a while, to the point where years and years and years and years go by, people have been spending the same hours on their phone, and they've had many, many, many full doses of cocaine just spread out across time. But people on their phones are not so self-aware, right? In the early days when phones were coming out, people were so self-aware. I remember probably about 5, maybe 10 years ago, it was seen as really rude to be on your phone in conversation. Do you remember that? There was so much talk about... Sorry, there are gnats here. I think I swallowed a bug. So, I remember when there were all these conversations and things coming out about people are being so antisocial on their phones. Nowadays, people don't bat an eye to that. What happened? 10 years later, people have fallen asleep to the fact that everyone is microdosing themselves with cocaine 24/7. So, think about that, guys. The reason why vaping is worse than smoking is because it doesn't feel as bad. So people do it more, or the equivalent of smoking, and then end up wrecking their lives, wrecking their health, rather. Right. And of course, everyone can do their own choice. No disrespect for people who choose to use substances and vape, but it is going to cost your health, that's the truth. And to smokers too. Smoking or vaping is not evil. It's not evil at all, right? Don't want to say it is. It's just bad for your health. And people aren't aware of it. And in the same way, smartphones, while not as bad as cocaine, has a similar effect with the same circuitry in the brain. But people aren't so self-aware. Look, there's another cool bird. Look at that. Hello. So people aren't aware. And that's why it's just as bad, if not worse, than drugs. Okay, bit of a rant again, guys. Same message every time I film my phone videos, but I hope gives you something to think about. Get off your phone right now, go outside, enjoy the sunshine. Alright guys, stay safe and stay sane.